UFC President Dana White brutally coped over Colby Covington's loss at UFC Tampa, where he got absolutely dominated by Joaquin Buckley. And you won't believe what Dana White had to say about Joaquin Buckley's performance at the UFC Tampa post-fight presser, because essentially Dana just made excuses for his old MAGA boy, Colby Covington. And he showed exactly what I've been telling you guys about for years, that Colby Covington has Dana White privilege. Anybody else, Dana would be crapping on him, or bare minimum, not giving them any outs, any excuses, any praise. But instead, because Colby Covington's his little Donald Trump sycophant boy, who he promotes and gives undeserved title shots to and allows to duck fights and publicly defends him, at this press conference, Dana decided, you know what? I'm going to refuse to be a promoter. I'm not going to promote a good performance by Joaquin Buckley. I'm just going to make excuses and cope over Colby Covington's devastating loss after he ducked Ian Machado Gary all of 2024. Now, he's done this before. I've called him out on this before. We're going to look at some clips where he did this right after UFC 304 as well. But I want to jump right into this because there's a lot to check out. Because Dana White at this presser completely failed to be a UFC promoter. He completely failed. But you know what he didn't fail to? He actually promoted some things. The first being, he hyped up the Eagles, which is a band playing at the Sphere. Listen to this.
Quality of stuff that you can do. I mean, how many, were any of you at the Sphere? I know you were, but I mean, come on, right? So I just went and saw the Eagles, which is fucking incredible. I love the Eagles. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I'm a huge Joe Walsh fan. And the stuff that they put on the screen was really cool. That went with the music and stuff. But when you see what we did at the Sphere, it's just like, I don't know if that will ever be done again.
So he's hyping up the Eagles at the Sphere. Okay, this is all pertinent. Wait till you see what he has to say about Joaquin Buckley's performance, dominating Colby Covington. He's hyping up the Eagles at the Sphere, and then he goes on to hype up their performance they did for UFC Noche at the Sphere. We'll listen to a little bit more of this clip.
You know, we spent over $20 million on it, and it was a one of one, and it was a fucking amazing night.
So hold on. First he hypes up the Eagles. Now he's hyping up the Sphere, what they did, what they pulled off at UFC Noche. He's about to hype up their team. I want you to remember, he's hyping all these different groups up. I want you to remember that.
Production team doesn't win every fucking award that exists in production. They're full. All the awards are full of shit.
And he goes on a little bit more, but we don't even need to listen to it. So the Sphere, he's still, hyping up Noche, which he kind of overpromised and underdelivered. He's hyping up the team. He's hyping up the Eagles. What else did he hype up? What else could he have possibly hyped up at this same press conference where he refuses to promote his own fighter because he beat up Colby Covington? Okay. He also hypes up the fighter that beat up the fighter who asked for a contract at a press conference, who fought in Korea for the Korean Zombies promotion. He hypes up the guy that beat the guy that asked for the contract at the press conference. Listen to this.
Yeah. No, I picked the other guy. I don't know if you wouldn't know that, but
so he signed the guy that beat the guy. Okay, just to give you guys the full details.
I picked the other guy. He won the fight, and he looked damn good doing it. He was the better, well-rounded fighter. The other kid looked very one-dimensional. And the Korean Zombie told me he had a lot of problems with that kid that week, threatening to pull out.
So there you go. He hypes up the Eagles. He hypes up the production at UFC Noche. He hypes up the Sphere in general. And now he's hyping up the opponent. Oh, he looks good. He's well-rounded, put on a good performance. I picked him. I signed him to the roster. Okay, hypes up that guy. And it wouldn't be a UFC post-fight press conference without Dana White hyping up Jon Jones. And that's the last clip we're going to look at before we get to the Joaquin Buckley, Colby Covington stuff. Here's what he had to say about Jon Jones. Jon Jones has got a dark side to him. Jon Jones has got German Shepherds. Jon Jones smacks spray paint cans at a vigilante's hand. Okay, let's get to it.
From day one, I've been confident that Jon Jones would do that fight, right? I mean, even before the fight. I said if he won, there's no way Jon doesn't do this fight. Jon Jones isn't afraid to fight anybody, and that's a fact.
So there you go. Jon Jones is going to fight. Jon Jones isn't scared of anyone. Jon Jones You know, he's the toughest guy out there. He's the pound for pound. I thought he was going to say pound for pound number one. He goes on a little bit more. I don't need to waste your guys' time with that. So just to recap, hyping up the Eagles, hyping up UFC Noche, hyping up the production for UFC Noche, which is kind of one, hyping up the fighter who fought in Korea against the guy who asked for a contract at the, press conference recently. I don't remember, was that 309 or 308? And then lastly, hyping up John Jones. Well, let's see what he had to say about Buckley's performance. This is right at the beginning of the press conference, okay? Let's see what he had to say about Buckley's performance. He definitely wasn't asked about Buckley's performance and immediately start complaining about the doctor stoppage and complimenting Colby Covington. There's no possible way he did that, right? There's no possible way he did that, right?
First of all, we'll start with Buckley. Amazing performance by him. Colby obviously suffered the cut, which kind of screwed him up. But give us your thoughts on that fight and how it played out.
So literally teed him up. Amazing performance by Buckley. What do you have to say? I mean, Dana White could have said, look, Buckley's been a guy who's been around for a while. He used to fight at the middleweight division with some mixed success. He looked decent. Since he's gone down to welterweight, he's been reeling off win after win, and he went out there and beat the brakes off of Colby, who was an established title contender over the years, a former interim champion, a top-ranked guy currently. And Buckley went out there and destroyed him, and he's putting himself in good title contention now. Maybe 1 or 2 fights away from a title. He looked excellent. He looked amazing. The striking looked good. The takedown defense looked good. He definitely doesn't get immediately annoyed and then make excuses and complain about the doctor stoppage, right? There's no possible way, right?
Yeah, I was curious to see how it would go if it went 5 rounds,
I was curious how it would go if it went 5 rounds. Acting like Colby Covington had a chance to win this fight. And I seen some comments on my post-fight video of people acting like Colby was getting the grappling going in the third because Buckley tried to go for an inverted triangle because he was toying with Colby Covington. I assume those comments were kind of trolly, and I still assume that they are trolly. But Dana's initial reaction was, yeah, I would have liked to seen it go on 5 rounds. What? Colby Covington's family doesn't wish it went 5 rounds. Colby Covington doesn't wish it would have went 5 rounds. He would have got absolutely bludgeoned and at bare minimum 50-44, if not finished in that 4th round, regardless. But Dana White's first words out of his mouth, when asked about Joaquin Buckley's performance, I would have liked to seen it go 5 rounds. Like it wasn't a brutal beatdown domination for 3 straight rounds.
If it went later in the rounds, no doubt that was a bad cut, but that fight doesn't get stopped in Vegas. That fight keeps going in Vegas.
So already pushing the exact excuse that Colby Covington's going to push when he finally gives an interview, if he decides to fight again. Even if he, goes off to his online right-wing grifting, whatnot. Oh, it's that dirty, corrupt liberal doctor got me. And to be quite clear, I didn't 100% agree with the stoppage, but I didn't hate the stoppage. Okay, I thought it was kind of annoying that it could have gone for a little bit longer, but I saw all I needed to see. It was a domination. Buckley wasn't slowing down. Colby did absolutely nothing. And meanwhile, Dana's like, yeah, that cut wouldn't have got stopped in Vegas. Man, I would have liked to seen it go on 5 rounds. This guy is coping, and I told you guys, Colby gets Dana White privilege because he is a Donald Trump sycophant. He loves that Colby sucks up to Donald Trump. I've been saying that forever, and people keep telling me, Joe, you dislike Colby because of his political beliefs. No, he got an undeserved title shot against Leon Edwards because Dana was hoping that Colby would win, and he would have a UFC champion to push political propaganda on us for the entirety of 2024. That was the plan. Colby went out there and shit the bed, didn't fight at all, ruined the last pay-per-view of 2023. Dana White didn't say a bad word about him. Didn't say a bad, not that I'm even asking that he should, but I'm just saying any other fighter Dana would have criticized. He kind of made excuses for Colby last year too, and now he gets beat up by Buckley after he has to be pushed into a Joaquin Buckley fight because he ducked Ian Machado Gary all year. Colby didn't want to fight anyone. Finally, the UFC needed him, and they called in a favor because they said, look, we've been covering for you ducking Ian Machado Gary for your life. He loses, he gets dominated, and Dana has to blame the doctor and say, I would have liked to seen it go on 5 rounds. Then what would you like to see? A sanctioned murder? Is that what you would have liked to see? But let's carry on.
You think it could have gone?
100%.
Okay. What did you make of Buckley's performance? Since moving to welterweight, he's really improved. He's shown himself to...
So another layup question. What you make of Buckley's performance? He's really looked good since he moved down.
Be a real contender at that division.
Yeah, listen, you go in and beat Colby Covington, it's a big deal. Love him or hate him, the guy's a dog. Fucking tough as nails. Took big shots to the body of the night. Took big shots to the head that would have knocked a lot of people out. Colby's durable and tough, but...
What do you second question of the same question? First time, what do you think of Buckley's performance? Excuses for Colby. Second follow-up, the same question. What do you think of Buckley's performance? Man, Colby's a dog. He took some big shots. He's so durable. He's so tough. He's a dog. I mean, you have to hear this to believe it. I could not believe it. And I actually caught some of this live on stream. If you want to go check it out from yesterday, after I watched the fight, I watched a little bit of this presser. I couldn't believe it. And I watched this entire presser to make sure I got you every clip about Joaquin Buckley and Colby Covington, which I'm going to show you in this very video. But I'm going to rewind that back because I literally just can't believe it. Listen to this again.
Showing himself to be a real contender at that division.
Yeah, listen, you go in and beat Colby Covington, it's a big deal. You know, love him or hate him, you know, the guy's a dog, fucking tough as nails, took big shots to the body tonight, took big shots to the head that would have knocked a lot of people out. Colby's durable and tough, but, you know, when you get cut, anything can happen.
Do you feel like...
When you get cut, anything can happen. He acted like this was Yuri Prohaska, Glover Teixeira, and Colby got cut in a random strike. And man, I would have liked to seen how it played out. And again, he was asked about Buckley's performance, and all he does is suck off Colby Covington because Colby Covington has Dana White privilege. And that's a fact. People used to tell me I was crazy for saying that. This dude's had 3 title shots, lost all 3 of them. 2 of them were borderline undeserved. 3 failed time title challenger Colby Covington, who has no wins over someone on a win streak since 2018 when he beat RDA. He's only beaten 40-year-olds on losing streaks. Okay, if you want to check out my full dedicated post fight, I'll link it down in the description. But yeah, that's what he has to say about Buckley's performance. Let's carry on. There's more. There's more. It gets even worse.
For Colby, then he shouldn't sort of be too hard on himself after this, right? Because the cut, it was bad. You could tell it was bothering him.
It was definitely bothering.
He shouldn't be too hard on himself. He got absolutely dominated. And, of course, Dana White's ready to answer that question. He can't answer about Buckley's performance, but he can answer continuing to, you know, giving a layup to make more excuses for Colby Covington.
And literally, as soon as the corner would fix it, he's waiting to walk back out, and he rips it open again and makes it start bleeding again. So that alone tells you that the cut was bothering him big time.
So that's why he got dominated, because the cut was bothering. By the way, Dana White, unbeknownst to him, it wouldn't shock me. I think Colby wanted that doctor stoppage. He had a little fake protest when they almost stopped it. He wanted it to be stopped so he could have that excuse. The doctor said, look, if it gets any worse, I'm going to stop it. Colby immediately ripped at it. I think he wanted it to get stopped. Now, that's not what Dana White was trying to imply here, and he's actually called out later in this press conference. But what Dana White was trying to say, man, that cut was so intrusive and so distracting. That's why Colby was getting dominated by Joaquin Buckley. That's why Buckley was walking him down, ripping him to the body, beating him up, stuffing his takedown, sprawling him on his bald spot. That's why Buckley was winning. It was because of that cut. It's, you know, totally forgetting the fact that Buckley put on a masterclass performance and dominating him and opened that cut with an uppercut. But yeah, there's people still making excuses, and there's more. So the next clip I'm going to show you is Dana's asked, what'd you think about Buckley's call out of Kamaru Usman? Instead of Dana saying, oh, that would be a great fight, I think that kind of makes sense next. We'll have to see. But Buckley definitely has earned a big fight in his next fight. Listen to what he has to say.
Buckley called out Usman. Is that a fight that you think makes sense?
Yeah, listen, Usman's one of the best ever. I didn't hear him. I didn't know that. But, yeah, that fight doesn't suck.
Usman's one of the best ever. I didn't hear his call. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't care what he had to say after he beat my MAGA boy, my MAGA man, Colby Covington. I didn't listen to the call out afterwards. I was so distraught. And I was thinking of what kind of excuses I could put out there that Colby could pick up on and he could just regurgitate him, and we can already convince the MMA community that this was just a fluke loss for Colby. They're going to give him mark my words right now, mark them down, write them down right now. They're going to give Colby a layup fight in his next fight, probably Wonderboy, which I don't even know if it's a layup. But there's more to this. I want to jump to a different press conference, because in case you missed it, we're going to come back to this press conference here in a second, because there's more. Dana White gets even more delusional, and he actually gets called out later in this press conference, but we'll come back to this in a second. UFC 304. This was where Belal Muhammad, massive underdog, went out there, dunked Leon Edwards on his bald spot, dominated him, and took his welterweight title off of him. This was a 24-minute press conference, almost the exact same length as the Tampa press conference. And I'm going to show you everything he had to say about Belal Muhammad. This is everything that he had to say about Belal Muhammad in the presser. This was in the first minute and 10 seconds. He was done talking about Belal. Listen to this.
Belal Muhammad's new welterweight champion. Curious your thoughts on the main event, on his performance and Leon Edwards' performance.
By the way, listen to him. Look at him licking his lip. Do I need coke in my mustache? That's essentially what he's doing. But what do you think about Belal and Leon's performance?
Wasn't a barn burner.
This is a promoter Bilal went out there and imposed his will. Bilal went out there against all odds, dominated Leon Edwards. Dumped him on his bald spot, ragdolled him, beat him up on the ground. Bilal weathered adversity late in the fight and survived and, took a couple big elbows, got cut open. It wasn't, Yuri Prochazka, Glover Teixeira, but it was still a great fight. And he won the title, achieved his dream against all odds when he was not getting his rightfully deserved title shot because they decided to give Colby Covington an undeserved title shot where he'd go out there and shit the bed. Where, keep in mind, Dana didn't say that after that fight. Dana didn't criticize that fight. He hyped up Leon because Leon's from the UK. And he didn't say one negative word about Colby after that absolute disturbing and disgusting UFC 296 performance. But yeah, Bilal dominates and wins the title. Wasn't a barn burner. This guy calls himself a promoter? I mean, is this what a promoter's supposed to do? And there's a little bit more here. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you think maybe Leon kind of, to me, looked a little bit lethargic? Maybe the time was hurting him a bit more than Bilal. Do you think that was a factor?
By the way, media member already making excuses for Leon. Craziness.
Or do you think Bilal's pressure was just too much for him to overcome?
I have no clue. You're going to have to ask Leon how he felt and what was going on. And, Bilal, I know Bilal's been training with Habib, so his performance was, what you would expect.
So that's officially 1 minute and 10 seconds into the presser. That's everything that Dana White said about Bilal Muhammad. Wasn't a barn burner. He trains with Habib, so his performance is what you would expect. What I find so crazy is Dana hates Bilal, or doesn't like Bilal's style at the bare minimum, because it's quote-unquote boring. He walked Leon down, beat him up, and meanwhile, Colby's a shittier version of Bilal with no power, no hands, no striking, doesn't do anything with the grappling, and somehow Dana's the biggest fan of Colby Covington, which we're going to jump back to this UFC Tampa presser, which is even crazier to me because there is a serious overlap between fans who cry about Dagestani grappling. Keep in mind, the majority of the Dagestani fighters are super exciting. I would say, off the top of my head, I would say probably 80%. There's a 20% that probably is super heavy grappling and kind of boring. Habib, one of the most exciting fighters of all time. Islam, one of the most exciting fighters in the entire roster. And at this point, I'm not talking about Dana himself, but it kind of overlaps with the fans. They call Islam and some of the Dagestani fighters boring, crotch sniffers. Colby literally goes out there and grapples with no threat of anything. That he lays on his opponent, even the 2 takedowns or the 1 takedown he got against Buckley. There was 2 times where he ended up on top on the ground. There was 1 other time where he ended up on top. Did absolutely no damage. And somehow these same people who hate the Dagestanis or the Caucasus region fighters for having exciting grappling with brutal ground and pound and submission ability, at least generally speaking, they fall all over themselves to make excuses and hype up Colby Covington, who does not have a decent win since 2018, 6 years ago. Very, very interesting observation. Now, the next clip we're going to look at, he's asked again about Colby Covington. He's asked, I forgot exactly what the question is. I think I actually left it in here. But he's asked about Colby's performance. And it kind of carries on from the final question, I think, where he asked about Buckley's call out of Usman. Listen to this.
And overall, what do you think of Colby? I know the fight was stopped from a cut, but from a performance standpoint until the stoppage, what do you think of it?
Yeah, listen, Colby's an older guy that fights, every once in a while.
He's an older guy who fights every once in a while. So you're basically making excuses for him. But what do you have to say about Colby's performance, Dana? Let's not make a million other excuses, right?
He's always durable and he's always tough. Like I just said to him, did you hear the body shots he was getting hit with tonight and the head shots he took? That stuff would have stopped, other guys. Colby.
If this doesn't prove Dana White, there's no Dagestani privilege, boys. There's Dana White privilege, and Colby is one of those guys who gets it. Man, Buckley beat the piss out of him. Buckley, has proved he's a top guy. But instead, it's, man, did you see how adorable Colby was? Did you see how adorable he was? I mean, he took some big shots, and he didn't fight back, and he, just got beat up and didn't do anything the entire fight except land a tornado kick in the 3rd round. Dana could have hyped that up. He could have been like, I'm surprised he didn't. Man, did you guys see that tornado kick Colby would have landed? Colby landed in the 3rd round? Man, if Buckley didn't partially block that, I think he would have put him to sleep there. Could you imagine Colby would have slapped him with that tornado kick? We'd have never heard the end of it. But let's carry on a little bit more.
It was tough. But I also feel like Colby wasn't too pissed that fight got stopped by the cut. The cut was definitely bothering him.
And what's crazy is What Dana just said there is essentially Colby wants out. Colby wanted out. Colby was happy the fight was ended because he was getting his ass whooped. But that's not actually what he really meant there. What he meant was the cut was hindering him so much that he wasn't mad that the fight was stopped. But in reality, he's really saying Colby wanted out. Colby didn't. Colby had that like little fake protest when the doctor came in and was like waving it off and was disgusted. But in reality, Colby did not want to continue. He knew what was going to happen. He knew what was waiting for him in the 4th round. He was going to get bodied. He was going to get finished. There was no coming back. He was down 3 rounds. He was going to get 50-44, if anything, maybe 50-43. But towards the end of this press conference, Dana was asked about it again. Well, you talk about the cut. Are you saying Colby wanted out? And somebody actually calls Dana out, and he gets all pissy. How dare you say that about my lapdog Colby Covington, my MAGA boy Colby Covington, my Donald Trump sycophant Colby Covington, Trump's Monica Lewinsky Colby Covington. How dare you say that about him? That's essentially what Dana's reaction is. Listen to this. He actually gets mad at the reporter when the reporter kind of says, well, are you saying he kind of wanted out here? Is that what you're saying? By the way, guys, if you enjoy these videos, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I would greatly appreciate it. Listen to this.
For your time. I just want to talk about Colby for a sec because, I mean, he's already gotten his shot at gold 4 times if we're counting interim. After a loss like tonight, what's next for him?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask him that question. You know, he's obviously still one of the top-ranked guys. Like we were saying about him all night. Took big
I mean, can you let me rewind that. Can you guys believe this? He's obviously still one of the top-ranked guys and goes on to praise him for getting his ass whooped by Joaquin Buckley, getting utterly dominated. Okay, I don't know why I just said that like that. But Buckley was dominating him the entire night, the entire fight. Colby had no bright spots other than he actually tried. Think about how low the bar is that Colby's praise is, oh, he really tried this fight. He actually tried to get a takedown. He got one takedown, did absolutely no damage with it. But yet, just another example off the top of my head, Movsar Evil Arnold Allen wasn't the best fight ever when it was literally one of the best fights on UFC 297, which was a garbage card. But somehow Dana and fans fall over themselves to praise Colby, make excuses for Colby, cover for Colby. You think it has anything to do with that Dana White privilege? Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that he says anti-Muslim things and he shits on people's families and he says stuff about Ian Machado Gary, the guy he shit his pants running from? You think it has anything to do with that? Maybe it had to do with that comment about Bilal in a pager. Okay, I made an entire video on that if you care to go check it out. Maybe it has to do with those types of things that Colby says. He says these, disgusting remarks, and it seems like Dana and the UFC fans, or a lot of fans, not all of them, I mean, a decent portion. Honestly, a lot of people are turning on Colby. So I'm kind of contradicting myself there. People are turning on Colby, but there is a loyal supporting group of Colby Covington fans that are making excuses after every fight, and it's probably because of the disgusting remarks that he makes. But let's listen to this again. I mean, it's just crazy. What's next for Colby? And in a second, he gets called out.
What's next for him?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask him that question. He's obviously still one of the top-ranked guys. Like we were saying about him all night. Took big shots, stayed in there. The cut was obviously bothering him. But I also believe that if that fight's in Vegas, that fight doesn't get stopped. More excuses.
By the way, in case you're wondering, you've heard all you're going to hear about Joaquin Buckley. This is all the promotion that the UFC president, Dana White, gave for Joaquin Buckley after a statement win, the most important win of his career on the biggest stage that he's had to this point, dominating a former title contender in Colby Covington. You've heard everything Dana's going to say about Joaquin Buckley. Not one word of praise for Joaquin Buckley. Not one word. Just like Bilal at UFC 304. Not one word of praise. Craziness. Absolutely craziness, and just shows the Dana White privilege. Just shows it outright. And there's a little bit more here because, again, the reporter calls him out.
With that cut. But I don't think that Colby was very upset when it did.
Because he was getting dominated. That's what you're saying. But what Dana's really implying is, and that cut hindered him in the fight, is what Dana's trying to apply. But what in reality he's saying, what we're all thinking is Colby really didn't want to continue because he was getting his ass whooped and he was going to get finished. And of course the reporter tries to point that out and Dana gets all pissy about it because how dare you imply that I criticize Colby? I've never criticized Colby since he's taken on his whole MAGA persona.
It was bothering him.
So you think that was almost a way out for him?
No, I'm not saying it was a way out. He didn't say, hey, look at my cut. The ref stopped the fight and called the doctor in and the doctor called the fight.
He had a fake protest to it, though. I'll tell you that much. He didn't want to continue at all. He knew it was going to happen. And he likes to have that excuse.
So it's not, he doesn't have a decision in that matter. So no, it's not a way out. I like the way you fucking spun that, though, and see how I would answer that. And then everybody would write, that isn't even in this fucking press conference, that Dana said Colby was looking for a way out with the cut. That's the fucking dumb shit that happens in these press conferences that drive me fucking crazy. So thank you, sir, but go ahead.
AKA people quoting you. People holding you accountable for your words. But yeah, at the UFC Tampa post-fight presser, not an ounce of praise for Joaquin Buckley in the performance of his career on the biggest stage that he's been given to date against a top contender, even though he shouldn't have been a top contender. And instead, coping and making excuses for Colby Covington. Oh, man, the doctor wouldn't have stopped it in Vegas, and I would have liked to seen that go to a 4th and 5th round. And, man, how adorable was Colby? How adorable was Colby? Did you see those elbows he was taking to the asshole? Oh, never mind. That was a different fight I'm thinking of. Let me stop. But yeah, can you believe this, guys? I mean, this is it. I can believe it because this is exactly what I anticipated. But it's just disgusting behavior that this guy is supposed to be the promoter of the UFC, doesn't even promote his own fighters. He picks and chooses his favorites and hypes them up. And it's embarrassing, man. This is supposed to be the head of the company. And Buckley went out there and absolutely dominated him, beat the dog shit out of him, and gets absolutely no credit. No credit at all from the UFC president, Dana White. All I'll say is hopefully Buckley gets a big fight in his next fight. He deserves it. He went out there and destroyed Colby. I saw all I needed to see. I already know Colby was never that good. You know, his biggest accomplishment will always be losing welterweight title fights to Kamaru Usman. But at the end of the day, he's only regressed since then. I don't think he's diminished as much as a lot of people make it out to be, but there'll always be an excuse. If he went out there against Ian Machado Gary, got starched out in the first round brutally with a KO, he would say it was an early stoppage, or, you know, he had elevation poisoning, or he trained too many square feet above sea level, okay? There's always going to be an excuse. Dana's always going to defend him. But I'm not even asking Dana to crap on Colby. I would have just liked to hear more praise for Joaquin Buckley. Yeah, man, Buckley looked phenomenal tonight. He looked like a world beater tonight. He looked like a future title contender. Like, Dana lies to us all the time, hyping up fights and pretending fights are more competitive than they actually are. Like Khalil Roundtree, Alex Pereira, who nobody even wanted to see. It ultimately turned out to be a good competitive fight. But meanwhile, when he can tell us the truth and sell us on one of his fighters, he doesn't even take that opportunity because Colby Covington is running around with a red hat and Joaquin Buckley is not. I'm sick of the Dana White privilege. It's annoying. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. And it's unbecoming of the UFC president, even though that's really not true because he's been doing this for years. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like the video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.